everyone, Caren Glasser here, and welcome to Caren Glasser Live. I welcome guests from all across the globe who entertain, wow, and excite us, and today is no exception. So whether you're here live or on replay, make sure to say hi in the comments, and I'll say hi right back. Today, our guest is Evan Kent. He is a master storyteller, performer, and cantor, having served his congregation for 25 years. He moved to Israel in 2013 and is currently on the faculty of Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem, where he teaches liturgy and sacred music. Evan is also a musical theater performer, having starred in many productions in Jerusalem. His one-man show, Shards, Putting the Pieces Together, has been presented in Jerusalem, Prague, and throughout the United States. And so without further ado, let's welcome Evan Kent. Hey, Evan.
Hey, Caren, good to have you. Good to see you. Thank you for having me on today.
I am so excited. This is actually a return visit. We were talking earlier. You were on a prior show that I did, and I'm so excited because today is really like a show. You're going to be doing a little bit of performing for us, which I am so excited about. So before we do that, though, we're going to touch some topics before we jump into it. And the first one that just comes to mind is, what is a storyteller? How would you define a storyteller?
Well, in the Jewish tradition, there are lots of ways to tell stories. The Jewish tradition has basically four types of storytelling. One is midrashim, stories that sort of fill in the blanks in the Torah. Then we also have stories from Talmud that sort of give us laws or direction. Then there's also storytelling that is sort of mystical or magical, sort of fantastical stories. The kind of stories that I tell, that I specialize, are in life stories, sort of the stories that come from our own lives. And I tell the stories that are really part of my own life and the lives of other people that I know very well.
What a great explanation. If you're just tuning in, we are putting the pieces together with Evan Kent. So let's talk about Shards. Let's talk about this show that you've been doing. How did it begin?
So we made Aliyah my husband, Rabbi Don Gore, and I made Aliyah, moved from Los Angeles to Jerusalem in 2013. And about a year after we moved here was the beginning of the Gaza war in July of 2014. And with missiles literally sort of landing within the perimeter of Jerusalem, I sort of had to try to understand if this was, why did I move to Israel? Right. And it's no secret that I was, as an American, never having experienced war like that. Mm-hmm. I went to see a therapist to get some assistance. Wow. And his first question to me, which really became sort of the impetus for the show, was he said, "Why are you here?" Not really, why are you here in my office? That was obvious, but right. Why are you here? Why did you make this 7,000-mile journey? That's not only a physical journey, but also a spiritual and emotional journey. Why did you come here?
Good question.
And after doing some sort of deep diving into myself and into my family history, I really discovered that I come from a family of wanderers and journeyers and sojourners. All of my family are immigrants, and what Shards became stories of my immigration to Israel and stories of my grandparents' emigration from Eastern and Central Europe to the United States at the turn of the 20th century.
Wow. So as I mentioned before, you do this one-man show, and you've been all over the world doing this. And in fact, when you were on the show last time, it was before everything that was going on right now, and you were talking about that you had a full schedule. You were going to come in 2020, you were going to be going all over the place. And clearly that's not possible right now. So that magical word pivot has happened, and you actually are going virtual. You are going online, right?
Yeah. I will say that I'll give a shout out to Intersection for the Arts in San Francisco for an amazing support group. A group of artists, both visual and performing artists. We came together on a weekly basis and tried to sort of deal with our grief of not performing or not being able to enable our own art. And what I decided was that I had to become technologically advanced, which is not something that I was really adept at. And we're now working with a production company out of New York City that has produced many Broadway shows. And we are taking Shards virtual beginning, we'll have 2 performances starting in October.
How exciting is that? And Look at that. I think, is that Sia or Saya?
That's Saya. Actually, she's one of the people that has actually been in this group with me, this arts group, and it's been really wonderful. She's a terrific visual artist, a muralist, and has done great work herself.
Well, welcome to the show, Saya, and I'm so glad you're here, and I agree. Yes, I think we talked about this, that virtual is where it's at. I mean, whether we like it or not, this is what we have, and we might as well make the best of it. And what you do does translate. It really does translate to the screen. And so without further ado, I'm going to drop myself out of here. I'm going to put you on full screen and let you entertain us. I kind of want to go, let you entertain us. I won't.
Slightly different show, but that's a great show too. Gypsy's a great show.
Take it away.
All right, thank you. So what I'd like to share with you is are some stories about, one of them is actually how I first became a cantor, and then one of my experiences while I was in cantorial school. So these stories go back a while in my own personal life. But before I actually share with you those stories, I'd like to share with you a song that I wrote specifically for Shards that really sets the tone of the entire show. Let me tell you a story. Let me sing you a song. Join me on this incredible journey, and I promise it won't go very long. Let me tell you a story. Let me sing you a song. And you'll all meet my great-grandmother, and you're all invited to join along. A story of home and of homeland, a tale of courage and love. And it's all true. Well, that's how I remember it, and I really want to share it with you. Let me sing you a story. Let me tell you a song. So let's start at the beginning, the top of the inning, and I promise it won't go very long, very long. So as storytellers, we tell stories, we sing songs, and my personal journey, one of my personal journeys, begins when I was a music student at Manhattan School of Music in New York City. And my goal was always to appear on Broadway. Well, I did appear on Broadway. Well, not Broadway like Times Square Broadway, like the Schubert Theater Broadway. I was a little bit further uptown, what we might call off-Broadway. Actually, I was even further uptown than that. I was off Broadway. But actually, I was really almost at the tip of Manhattan, what we would call off Broadway. But I couldn't complain. I was performing, I was singing, I was actually paying my rent by singing. And this space was amazing. State of the art lighting, an amazing sound system, beautiful velvet curtains, amazing seats, about 1,000 people almost at every performance. And let me share with you one of my favorite songs from that time when I was performing. Kyrie eleison. Or my personal favorite, Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Oh, I had made it to Broadway, 207th and Broadway, the Church of the Good Shepherd, Paulist Fathers. But I was actually making a living singing Mass for the Catholic Church. It was such a wonderful place to sing, such a wonderful place to be part of this community. After every Mass, people would come up to me and say, you know, this was the most beautiful Sunday of my life. Your voice is like the angels. I remember Marge Mooney. She was one of the women who sang in the volunteer choir with me, but she was also a teacher in the Sunday school, an elderly Irish woman. She came up to me and she said, you know, when you sing, it's like the voice of baby Jesus. And then John O'Connell, he was an Irish guy that actually was also in the choir. And he came up to me after another Sunday and said, when you sing, it's like the voices of the angels. And I thought, well, that's sort of nice, but here I was a nice Jewish boy from Long Island singing for the Catholics, just a little weird. You know, they say in New York City, you can have a good job, a good relationship, and a good apartment, but you can only have 2 of the 3 at any given time. I'll let you in on a secret. In this point in my life, I had neither a good job, I had neither a good relationship, and I had a terribly small apartment. And everything around me was sort of collapsing. Well, it came time for Easter week, the holiest time on the entire Catholic calendar. And I led the entire congregation day after day, morning, afternoon, and evening in very solemn masses as we moved through the week to Good Friday. And on Good Friday, I stood on the altar of the Church of the Good Shepherd, Paulist Fathers, and I took my place in this darkened, big church. And I was about to recite the Litany of Saints. That's a listing of all the saints' names. And as I took my place on the altar, I thought, if there is a God, maybe I can find some answers here. And I began to recite, Mary, Mother of God, pray for us. Saint Agatha, pray for us. Saint Agnes, pray for us. And as I sang these sacred words for the Catholic Church, I felt as if I was somewhat elevated above the altar of that church. And as I sang, Saint Beatrice, pray for us, I heard other words, other music that I had not thought about in a very long time. Saint Benedict, pray for Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Saint Gregory, pray for Adonai Echad. And by the time that Mass was over, I knew that that would be the last time that I would ever sing for the Catholic Church. The following week, I applied to Hebrew Union College to their cantorial program, and I was accepted. And I began my journey to serving 25 years at a synagogue in Southern California. Now, I'd like to tell you a story about my student pulpit. My student pulpit was on the South Shore of Long Island in Freeport, New York, almost right on the water. And one of the best parts about this entire experience, and I was there for 3 years, was the music director, the pianist. Actually, she was also an organist because we had an organ and a piano. And she was like an encyclopedia, a walking encyclopedia of Jewish music. And Claire Berman was her name, and she gave me music that nobody had. And she helped me understand how that we sing different music on Friday night and on Saturday morning, and we sing different music for Rosh Hashanah than we do for Yom Kippur. And she would transpose music into my own key and help me out and coach me and teach me. So one afternoon in this music library at the college, there was a box of music that I saw, and I was rummaging through it, and I came across a manuscript of a piece of music that I realized was Shalom Aleichem, a song that we sing that welcomes Shabbat on Friday. And I thought, well, this is something I could share with Claire. She's never seen this piece. And there was something in Yiddish. I could identify that it was in Yiddish at the top of the music. I don't read Yiddish. I don't understand Yiddish. But I took it to Claire. I actually called her that Friday. I said, can we meet a few minutes before the service so we could go over the music. So I came into the sanctuary. Claire was already warming up at the keyboard. She played so beautifully. And I sat down next to her and I opened up my briefcase and I took out the music and put it on the music rack on the piano. And she looked at it and she started to cry. "What's the matter, Claire? Isn't this piece okay? Isn't this a piece that we could sing tonight?" And she turned to me and said, "Evan, let me read for you what it says at the top of this page in Yiddish. I'll translate." It said, "This piece was sung by Tessie Werlinski, who said that her father, a rabbi in Odessa, Russia, sang it for her every Friday night." Evan, Tessie Werlinski was my mother. And that rabbi, of course, was my grandfather. And on that Friday night, the Shabbat Angels from Odessa, Russia, came and sang with the Shabbat Angels at my student congregation on the South Shore of Long Island. And this is what they sang. Oi, 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 Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShoires, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My show Shards is filled with more true stories. As I say in the opening song, the stories are all true. Well, at least that's how I remember them. And memory is a very strange thing. Things that I remember, other members of my family don't remember, but that is the joy and that is the gift of memory and of retrieval. The show will go virtual in October, and I hope you will join us. Stories of my grandparents, my great-grandparents. I'll give you a teaser. I did not know that I had a grandfather until my first year of cantorial school when I was 24. And my grandfather actually died in my last year of cantorial school. Family estrangement. And that's one of the major stories in my show. And what Shards is really, shards are like here in Israel, they're pieces of pottery. And what we try to do in our own lives is take those pieces and put them back together. And they often don't go back together the way that we want them to, but we have to somehow deal with that. And that's really what the show is all about. It's about going somewhere, expecting something, and experiencing something different.
You know, Evan, as I was listening to you down in the green room and hearing you perform and your beautiful, beautiful, magnificent voice, this was the first time I actually had the pleasure of seeing you perform. And wow, anyone who has the opportunity to come hear you virtually live needs to do this, really needs to do this. You bring up a lot of emotion. You bring up a lot of it. This has, first of all, I want to bring a comment up. Great story, voice. Thank you for sharing with us. Thanks, Buck. I appreciate that. No matter what religion you hail from, no matter what demographic you hail from, the stories the stories are the stories, and we all have those stories. So I'm going to put up your website right now, because unfortunately I can't send them anywhere right now to go pick up a ticket, a virtual ticket. But it will be out
very soon. Very soon.
It will be out very soon. And the way to keep in touch with that, really to be on top, is to go check out Evan's website at evankent.com. And he's also promised me that he's going to send me the link so that I can add this to everything that we do. Thank you for that. And also make sure that you go follow Evan on Instagram, not just because he has a magnificent voice, but oh my gosh, he shares the most amazing images. He's a baker. I get hungry just watching you on Instagram. The last time you did, we were talking about it, cinnamon rolls. Oh my God.
Yeah, they were amazing. Yeah.
So is there a correlation between singing and baking for you? Just curious.
That's a really interesting question. You know, it's sort of, well, there, you know, I'll think about that. Baking is really the art and science of baking, because you can have the same recipe, but it never comes out the same, because humidity, temperature, your own temperament, and
Right.
Singing is the same. You train yourself, but every performance is different. I mean, and it really is. I mean, it is the art and science of singing as well. But I also find that there's great therapy. And I mean, you know, it's like the song Waitress, where she says, sugar, flour, butter, you put them together and you make amazing things.
Saya wants to know, do you sing while you bake?
I actually don't.
Acquiring lines.
I actually, what I do is I do listen to music when I bake.
I love it. Well, Evan, thank you so much for blessing us with your voice, your stories. I encourage everyone to go follow Evan and check him out as soon as the tickets are available. Go get yourself a ticket. It's great. Maybe baking is therapy, so is listening to you. I want to thank you,
Caren. Thanks so much.
Truly, I you know how much I adore you. I just think that you just walk on the moon, and I'm just really happy that you took some time. Now, in case you hadn't noticed or really realized, Evan's in Israel. It is a whole lot later there right now than it is over here. I told him after the show he's going to go to bed, I think, or maybe not. Maybe you're a night owl. I don't know. But for all of you, I know that you have a choice as to where you're going to spend your time, and you chose to spend it with us today. Whether it's on replay or live, we appreciate you so much. Make sure you tune in, and next time on the next episode of Caren Glasser Live, go out and give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Caren.